YouTube, what is up? I am back. It has been a long time since I've really posted on this channel. I keep saying I'm going to do this. I've been dropping setups in my free Telegram and, talking to you guys on Instagram. You guys see my setups, you see my trades. So, it's time to get active. It's Q4. Let's really turn it up. And I'm going to try to be consistent. Not try to be, I will be consistent on this channel, just posting my trading style. Sometimes I feel like there's so many videos out there about trading, but, people keep asking me, what sets me apart as a trader and what gives me my edge. So I want to show you guys that and really just be transparent with what I'm doing in the markets. So today, going to get right into it. This video is going to be about trading secrets, right? And it's not really secrets. It's more so the things that I use, like I said, to get my edge and that I look at as non-negotiables, right? As traders, there's certain things that are constant for all of us. We just may not pay attention to them. So, for me, when I was really trying to, figure out like why things weren't connecting or why I was losing, it was probably because I was looking at things that were, maybe not important and probably not looking at the things that truly are important to the overall market. So this is not something that, is bound to one strategy, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're a technical trader, price action, smart money concepts. This is something that anybody can use. And, I did a free webinar a couple months ago and I got some really good feedback. And I just want to explain it to you guys and make sure we have this video for the YouTube archives to kind of build off of. So I'm going to get right into it, guys, and just show you what I'm talking about. And like I said, just some of my secrets and things that I use. And once again, it's not anything that is going to like, oh, wow, like this is the most hidden thing ever. It's more so the factors and the things that I look at to increase my win rate and just to overall increase my understanding of the market, guys. So I'm not big on indicators. If you see me trading or if you been on any of my free calls, you know that I'm not big on indicators, right? I like price action, technical analysis, and using what the market is showing me. So because of that, it got to a point in my trading career where I needed to figure out, like I said, how to build my edge, and the way to do that was to use the things that were already there, right? That's the secret, using the things that are already there. So let's jump right into it. One thing that I like to use, and this works on indices, forex pairs, commodities, right? For if you trade gold, it does not matter, right? And I'll show examples on what I trade mostly, which is Nasdaq 100 and then GBP/JPY. But we'll start on Nas real quick, just because that's what I got pulled up. So if you look at this indicator, weekend, Saturday, Sunday, it's these vertical lines that are about to pop up, right? And basically, like I explained on the webinar a couple months ago, it literally just separates the market into chunks for me, right? I think too many traders, we look at the market from higher time frames and scale down, but we don't really understand like what's actually going on from one week to the next, because most of us are not swing traders. So, my saying is like, think like a swing trader, have a long-term bias, but most of us are trying to, trade for one session or get in and out or hold a trade maybe into the next day. Maybe. So, for me, it was like I had to figure out a way to really make sure that I was breaking the market down into segments. So when I add these vertical lines, right, you can see from here to here is 1 week, from here to here is 1 week, so forth and so forth. So guys, what that did for me was it made it not seem so drastic. Like once you realize that this is all that happens in 1 week, you stop looking for a different move every 5 seconds, right? Because that's really why a lot of traders lose in the beginning, because they're looking for a new move, every other hour, every other day. And it's like, look at it from week to week. The market went up. The next week, the market went up. It continued to go up, right? Little consolidation, went down, consolidated for the rest of the week. So when you start seeing it from this perspective, it keeps your bias, right, your overall perspective kind of like locked in on the same wavelength, instead of like, oh, today I'm buying, tomorrow I'm selling. And there might be opportunity to switch and take different trades. But like I said, we need to focus on how to get the bigger picture and then breaking that down into chunks. So what I really use this for is because I like knowing where last week's high and last week's low are, because those are very important. And like I said, when I got into trading indices more so during the pandemic, I realized, there are certain things that stock traders pay attention to, like highs and lows of certain days and just overall weeks and times, that a lot of Forex traders, we don't pay attention to. I think we have so much in our arsenal, right? You could use trend lines, you can use Fibonacci, you can use all this other stuff, but don't forget the things that are non-negotiable. So my strategy kind of evolved from, just taking my technical analysis to looking at what the market was already showing me. So let's just start right here because I'm already at this point. When I look at this, right, and a new week opens, let's say this week was entirely bearish. I don't just assume it's going to continue down, right? Too many traders just assume. Now it's good to, understand, okay, there was a big impulse of sellers here, but I'll make a NAS video. But I want to say this too, because a lot of people expect these big sales to happen on NASDAQ and US 30 follow the economy. So unless there's a major event like the stock market crash in 2008, this is gonna keep going up overall. But I don't want to go off on that tangent. So not saying we don't sell it. It just means like think about what you should be doing long term, and you'll probably be right in the short term. So when I started looking at it from week to week, I was like, okay, if price is not closing below last week's lowest point, then I should probably just look for a buy, right? There's no reason for me to, try and sell if we're not even going under the last point or the last lowest point of last week. So like I said, for me, this was just to add more confluence and give me more confirmation, because some people have a hard time getting their bias, right? When the week starts off, you're like, I need data, I gotta wait. And before you know it, it's Thursday, Friday, you haven't taken a trade and the market's all the way up here because you just weren't looking at what was already there. So another one I like to use is previous week high and low. You can find all these, in the indicator section, and there's different ones. So let's just use this to make it a little easier to see. My rules are, if the market doesn't break below the previous week's low, the only thing I'm looking for is a buy, right? So as you can see, here was that week's low, Sunday night going into the new week. So when I see traders take these sells in areas like this, it's like, does it make sense long term? It's probably not going to give you 1,000 pips or 1,000 points, depending on what you're trading, right? It's not going to give you that long-term move. So until price breaks below the lowest point of the previous week, we should probably be looking to buy, right? And then, of course, if price breaks above that previous high, then I'm definitely not looking to sell. So for a week like this, I'm not saying that you might not sell on the intraday side, but from Sunday until Friday, you could have pressed buy and you would have been right. So when we look at this and just go, further and further into the story, all right, let's go to another week where maybe it's not so clear. Once again, here's this week's high, this blue line. Price was under the last week's high. So my rule is I'm not looking for a, buy if I'm closing under. And it's still support and resistance. It's just using the last immediate support and resistance, aka the last week's high and low. Anything under last week's high, I'm looking to majorly sell. Now, you have to understand structure too, because if structure changes, which, structure gave us a higher low here, right? And then another higher low and then another higher low compared to what? Last week's lowest point, which was down here at the beginning of the open. As long as I'm making new higher lows and closing above last week's high, then I'm going to go back to looking for buys. And you can see, even if you're like confused and you don't know what to do, wait, be patient, right? I like to enter on a retest, meaning if I'm entering a buy, I want to get in near higher low areas. I'm not really a breakout trader, but being a day trader means you show up and you take whatever setup is available if it makes sense for your risk management, if it makes sense for your trading style. So for me, it's like, okay, if the market breaks out above last week's high and is breaking all these resistance levels on an intraday side, I'm not doing anything but buying. But if it closes under last week's low or last week's high, then I'm going to look to sell. So it just helps you, stay right in the moment, but also catch whatever move is going to pay you the most. Because that's what you have to ask yourself. What move is going to pay me the most? Not, what move is going to make money right now all the time, but, I like to think like a swing trader, meaning if I was to only take one trade a week, what would I have wanted it to be? So yeah, there was some pullback here, and yet the immediate move would have been to sell Sunday and Monday. But if you wanted to take one trade or one bias, the bias for this week was, we were looking for buys overall. Why? Because we weren't closing anywhere near last week's lowest point, weren't closing under it. And then, like I said, these are all higher low points. Sometimes we want these big retracements, right? We want it to be like this. And that's not always the case in the market. The market is going to do what the market's going to do. So sometimes all it needs is a little bit of pullback, higher low, little push, higher low, little push, wick, higher low, and then it takes off. So this has helped me, like I said, trade when the market is consolidated, when the market is trending, when the market is ranging, when the market is, impulsive, because it keeps my bias intact, and that allows me to not really have to second guess myself, right? We're going to talk about everything, fibs, technicals, all that stuff, but I just want to focus on how do we add to our bias, right? And adding to our overall strategy without taking away from whatever that strategy is. Let's go one more week, right? So beginning of this week, where are we at? Price is clearly, still above this last week's lowest point. So that would have been another indicator for me to look for buys, but we know everything that goes up must come down. So immediately we did get a close under last week's high, right? Got a small little lower high right here. But structure never changed. So what happens is a lot of people get in this trade for the sell. It's not wrong. But if structure doesn't change, right, if you're not making new lower lows and lower highs, then overall you should be looking for this, right? Like Forex isn't really, and trading in general is not really, oh, this happened, so I'm going to just do this forever. No, it's like, okay, if this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, it's like you have to build upon your story. You can't just expect one move to, change the entire shift of the market. So once again, price was maintaining above last week's lowest point, and then it broke above last week's high. So like I said, I'm not really a breakout trader, but I'm able to scale in and look and see all these higher low points that were being made to the upside to give me new targets. So of course, when price came back down in these wick areas, these wicks are just longer candles on a lower time frame, but that's another topic, right? We're just trying to get back to this previous week high. So if we're not breaking this low and we're not making structure to the downside, why are we trying to sell long term? Right? It has to make sense. And that's what, when I talk to traders, when I do one-on-ones, or when you guys DM me and you're like, you send me your markups and you're like, I'm selling right here. I'm like, good. But are you breaking structure? Are you breaking these previous week's lows? Are you closing under here over and over again? If not, take your trade, get your money, get out, and then look for the bigger picture and the better trade. Now, real quick, what I want to do is go to the hour time frame because we've been on the 4 hour for a minute. And of course, trading is about scaling in, right? Going from time frame to time frame. The best traders I know can use multiple time frames. So the same way I like to break the market into weeks, now you got to be able to break it down by day. Once again, most of you are day traders, right? I know people who say they swing trade, but you don't even hold trades longer than 5 hours. 5 hours not a swing trade. That's an intraday, day trade, whatever you want to call it. Swing trading to me is like I'm holding trades for weeks, which is not feasible for most people because you can't handle watching the market go up and down, up and down. You can probably only handle watching the market, go up one time and then it goes down and you're already freaking out. So I'm trying to help people just get their day-to-day picture. So when it comes to looking at the market day-to-day, I use another tool under settings. I think it's and you can use these things on not TradingView, on MetaTrader if you are using MetaTrader. There's so many platforms out there now. So you might be using TradeLocker, you might be using Sway Charts or something else. Where is it though? Scales. Oh yeah, okay. So Chart Basics, I think it's grid lines, right? I'll double check. But basically these are session breaks. That's what it is, session breaks. You guys can go under settings and find it. I forgot because I keep it on. I don't really turn it off. But yeah, session breaks. Anyway, these show me from day to day, right? So market opens, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So the same thing I told you guys about looking at the 4 hour and seeing what it's going to do for the week to get your bias. I want to do the same thing on the hour, especially when I'm trading a pair like, NAS, where my overall bias is always going to be bullish. Like I said, as long as the economy is good, of course. And then I still need to be able to scale in, though, because I know every day is not going to just buy, right? Everything has a pullback. Every market that goes up must come down. So let's just look at this week, right? We're going to take random weeks because I want to prove that this works no matter what your strategy is, no matter what your style is, right? I just want to increase what's already on your chart and help you see that at a higher, probability to get better entries and better setups. So new week opens up, right? Now, I told you guys, if we open up under last week's previous high, which is right here, right? we look for sells. So Sunday night opens up. If you want to get active in the market, you don't have to wait. The volume might not be there, but I really don't like when traders say, well, I don't really care what traders say, but people will say, oh man, I gotta wait till Monday, Tuesday. No, you trade what you see. So if you don't see anything, stay out the market. But if the market is showing you a setup, it's all about risk management. The day really doesn't matter. Now, of course, you might not trade, on Fridays just because liquidity might be, different or a little bit lower. And like I said, same thing with Sundays. But anytime the market shows me opportunity, I'm taking it if it makes sense for my risk to reward. So right here, we're closing. When I say closing under, right, I just mean we're making a lower high, right? So this is technically a lower high point of this, right? All these are lower highs, but this is, new week opened up. You want to know what to do. Well, wait for this to close, right? And prove that price is not breaking above last week's high. It didn't. And then we look for sales in here. And this is not, a video really on entries, so we'll talk about that another time. But this is really just for you to get your bias. So my bias would have been to buy here, or to sell, excuse me. Now, you can do two things. You could put your stop at the previous week's high because it's so close. But typically, you want to look at the previous day's high, which would be Friday, right? So once again, price is closing at or below the previous day's high. What do? We sell. If it's closing at or below the previous week's high, what do? We sell. So two confirmations to sell right there. Like I said, it doesn't matter what your strategy is. We haven't even talked about, key levels, support, resistance, Fibonacci. We haven't even had to go into that because I had to simplify for myself, right? 2020, 2021, when I got into trading indices, they were moving so fast. I was like, I need confirmation. I need to know if I'm right or wrong out the gate, right? I can't just use the imaginary things that we like to draw as traders, right? Support, resistance, that's all subjective. What is not subjective is that this is the previous week's high, this is the previous day's high, right? That's not subjective. So once again, we would have taken that sell right there, stop loss at the previous day's high, and that would have been, probably a high risk or high probability, right? Low risk trade, high reward, low risk. That's what we want. So let's say we come to the market on Tuesday. Well, Shy, I don't know what to do. Okay, well, look at the non-negotiable factors. Where's last week's lowest point? It was right here. Is this above? Is it higher than or lower than last week's lowest point? Oh, you tell me it's higher than, right? That is a higher low, right? Everything's not going to always be clear cut and dry. That's what we have to understand as traders. It's not going to always look perfect like a staircase. And no, you got to take whatever the market's giving you. Now we know, other things, little consolidation leads to breakouts. But like I said, these are other topics. I'm just trying to get you to understand the bigger picture. All right. So this day was selling. Now, if you realize what happened on this side was erased by sellers. That's what the market typically does. It's a battle of back and forth. Who's gonna, take out who? And then eventually price goes right back up to where it was trying to get to. So if we look at this, like I said, we're closing above last week's high, right? Now we look at this day, right? Like I said, these light gray vertical lines are from day to day. So Monday, here was our lowest point of the day. And I have another indicator that I like to use too, previous day low and high. I'm just trying to keep it clean for you guys, but we can add this on here because it's not really, like I said, these aren't indicators that change your bias. It's just showing you what's already there. So we can see here was the previous day's low. Well, once again, if we don't break the previous day's low, if we close at or below or at or above the previous day's low, we buy. Like, guys, it's simple. If we close under the previous day's high, then we sell. But in this case, we close above the previous day's low, above last week's low, we got to buy. There's nothing else to do here, guys, but buy. Let's go to the next day, right? We can just go day to day. This is how you can literally go from trading once or twice a week to maybe being able to trade every day if the market has volume, if the setup is there. So new day opens up, right? So what's happening right here? Well, here's the highest point of the previous day. We're closing under that. So, maybe you weren't trading Asian session. Maybe you were like, I can't really get a bias. It doesn't make sense. Well, after all this impulse, I'm not trying to buy. Now, that doesn't mean I'm trying to just sell right away. I need confirmation. So we got to wait for this to close and give us some type of confirmation that we do have, a lower high on a smaller time frame. But overall, the main theory is that if price is closing under this previous day's high anyway, I'm going to sell, right? Now, overall, we're still above last week's low. That's why we want to keep our bias towards buying. But since we're above the previous day high, right, or below the previous day's high, we're going to look to sell. Now, once we get this close right here, right, stay with me, boom, higher low. Because overall, the market never changed. It's still bullish, right? This was all pullback. Higher low was made. Once again, guys, what did I say? If we break or close above the previous day's high, what do? We go ahead and buy. Now, look how ironic this is. This is not just the previous day's high, meaning this high right here. This is also at this blue line, the previous week's high. So more confirmation. If you were about to sell here because you're like, oh, it came back to the previous day high, and there's resistance here, there's more reasons that it's bullish than bearish. And that is what, my strategy has evolved into, is looking at what's actually in the market, or what the market is really trying to show me, and then, going from there. So I don't want to make this video too long. This video was supposed to be like a 10-minute quick one. But, I could talk about this topic all day. So these are just my little secrets that I use to increase my win rate and my understanding. So guys, if you got some value from this, leave a comment, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because I'm back. Like, I'm really about to go on a little run and just post whatever, right? Just authentic, real talk, me showing you guys my chart breakdown. So that's really it, guys. If you guys are in my free Telegram, I'm still going to keep dropping stuff there, dropping setups. I'm working on my private community. For those of you that have followed my podcast journey, I've started, my Vision to Reality Network. So that's not going to be just a podcast. That is also going to have, private courses, mentorship, all that stuff. Still doing one-on-ones as well. So if you want that one-on-one personal help, reach out, let me know. But this is what I use, guys, to, like I said, increase my win rate. These are my little quote-unquote secrets. Not so secret. It's just focusing on the things that are already there. So I appreciate you guys for sticking around to the end, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.